Okay, fantastic. So let me share my screen and we can start with today's session.
Rahul, you are on mute.
Yeah.
I changed the settings, so you also went on mute now.
Okay, cool. So I request everybody to put yourselves on mute if you, and we will open the floor for Q&A. At that time, you can unmute yourself. Okay. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this session, Audit to FP&A. So Asif and I have over 2 decades of experience in FP&A, and we both started our career as chartered accountants, and we have transitioned from working in an audit firm to finance functions. So we thought, I think this would be an interesting topic to touch upon and put together some points to give you some perspectives about how do you transition from audit to finance functions. So what our focus today here is not to teach you about FP&A, okay, but to give you an overview of what happens in an FP&A role and how you can move towards that path, move towards getting into FP&A. So that is what we'll try and touch upon today. Okay, so let me move forward. So first of all, thank you for your trust. In this age of overloading of webinars and sessions, you have taken out your valuable 60 to 90 minutes to spend with us to learn something new. So thank you for your trust. Pat yourselves on the back for taking action, right? So many people think about enrolling into courses, think about learning something new, but they never take that action. Even if you see for today's webinar, more than 170 people have registered and I can only see 38 participants. So this is what differentiates, from action takers from the rest of the world. So, and no wonder you will see, and an interesting statistic says that 3% of the people take active action to develop their careers. And no wonder you will see 3% of the people are leading the world's organizations. So pat yourselves on the back for taking action and make sure you stay put till the end, till the 90 minutes of the session and the Q&A that we're trying to cover today. And make sure that you take maximum benefit of this training that we're trying to conduct today. A little bit about me before we begin with. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I've also completed my 1-year general management program from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. Over the last 15 years, I've worked across diverse industries as CFO and in various finance leadership roles across industries like oil and gas, software, PR and advertising services, and many others. So I'm also now co-founder and faculty at FP&A Professionals Institute. So Asif is my partner there. So I've mentored more than thousands of chartered accountants and finance professionals. Over the last 5 years, I've been an active online trainer and I've trained and impacted more than 5,000 finance professionals to help them grow in their careers. So that's a little bit about me. I have my partner today, Asif Masani. So he's also a chartered accountant, comes from a rich experience across banking, pharma, and edtech sectors. He's also written a book called All About FP&A. He's also the co-founder along with me at FP&A Professionals Institute. And he has rich experience with institutions like EY, Citibank, Pfizer, and he's a regular contributor at FP&A. You might have seen him, has over probably 150,000 followers, Asif, on LinkedIn. And it's fantastic to see his contributions in FP&A. So happy to have Asif here with me today. So what are we going to cover today? So what is this training about? So most of us, if we are coming from a traditional accounting background, so where I'm talking about courses like CA, CPA, ACCA, or all these courses, we might have some experience of working in an accounting firm or an audit firm. Okay, so we are looking at this training as a foundation or a stepping stone to transition to industry side or to the finance function in a traditional manufacturing, trading, or a services kind of a company. Okay, so that is what we are looking at. We are not talking about any financial industry or financial product industry like investment banking, equity research, all of those things. That is not the scope of this training today. So what we are trying to train you here is moving from an accounting or an audit firm to a finance function, a traditional finance function of a manufacturing, trading, or a services company, where you will start as an analyst, and you could go up to the ranks of becoming a CFO, CEO someday. So that is the objective of this training program. So what are we covering today? We'll try and understand about different roles on the industry side. I'll give you an overview about what are the different kind of organizations available out there, what are the different kind of roles available out there, where you fit into the structure. What is the kind of role that you can land in, and where you can best contribute to an organization. How industry is going to be different. There is a certain mindset that you go in when you're working with an accounting and audit firm that is completely different from how it is in the finance firm. Okay, so compliance takes a backseat, and supporting the business always is the main goal of FP&A or finance function for that matter. So that is the mindset shift. So we'll touch upon a little bit of my aspects about mindset shift. Then how does a typical day or a month look like in a finance function? And we'll see how and what are the range of activities that we will cover in a finance function. And then tips to prepare for this shift. How do you actually take action to build your resume or generate opportunities in FP&A? So that's what we'll try and cover today. Okay, all in all, an interesting 60-minute session. So please make sure that you stay till the end and ask us questions. We are happy to answer any questions that you have, and we'll break at regular intervals for questions. If there are any unanswered questions, we'll take them at the end of this training program. Cool. So let me start by giving you a broad overview about the industry, the industry landscape, which we would like to call. So if you are to divide the organizations available out there, you can divide them into 4 broad categories, right? So one is your banks, right? Is your banks, where you have your commercial banking, your retail banking, your financial institutions and research. All of that covers in allied with the banking, your fintech. All of that comes in the banking landscape. Then comes your institutions or your financial institutions. So BFSI, as we call it, right? So banking, financial services, and insurance industry. So the first half of this semicircle covers the BFSI industry. So where you have your institutions which talk about financial management, financial products, equity, research, portfolio management, wealth management. All of that comes in the institutions portfolio. And then you have your public accounting space, where you have the typical big fours, the consulting firms, the audit firms, the tax consulting firms, which offer a range of services from consulting to audit, due diligence, transaction advisory, valuations, technology consulting, ERP implementation. There could be a host of things that these public accounting firms or large accounting and audit firms provide. And then we have the classic corporates, as I like to call them. Classic corporates are your classic manufacturing, trading, and services organization. They are either giving you some services or manufacturing or trading products. And then here you are looking at various roles ranging from accounting, FP&A, treasury, internal audit. There could be a number of roles that are within these kind of corporates. So this is the general industry landscape out there. In no matter what quadrant you lie in, right? So you could be in a bank at this point in time, you could be in a corporate at this point in time. All of these institutions require FP&A. And the reason for that is somebody needs to monitor the performance of the business. Somebody needs to tell that this division or this product or this decision that we have taken is financially sound, right? So that is where FP&A comes into play. So no matter what industry or not, what institution you're working with right now, it is possible for you that combined with your FP&A foundations knowledge and with your industry understanding, you are able to blend these two together in a nicer way to provide FP&A services, or to get transition into an FP&A role in any of these quadrants that is possible. Yeah. So moving forward. So what are the different kind of profiles available out there, right? So if you look at a typical large company or a business house available out there, you can find a number of different kind of finance and accounting roles, right? And you may have seen me present this slide on many of my YouTube videos. So you can combine all these different kind of profiles into 3 different buckets. So bucket 1 is all about financial reporting and compliance. Then you have your business finance, FP&A, and specialty functions, and business finance, FP&A, and business partnering functions. And then you have your specialty finance functions. So all those things which do not fit into bucket 1 and 2 can be clubbed as specialty finance functions. So financial reporting is all about accounting, compliance, reporting, taxes. And the typical activities here are preparation of financial statements, notes to accounts, liaising with internal and statutory auditors, tax audit, getting the tax compliance done, regulatory reporting. All of that is covered in this bucket. Yeah. And then you have your commercial aspects. You're supporting the business, your management accounting, your management reporting, or your business partnering, typically where the activities are related to budgeting, forecasting, different types of analysis like revenue analysis, cost analysis, margins, different types of profitability, customer level, product level, branch level, territory level, region level, SKU level. There are so many different kind of profitabilities you can prepare, as part of this role. Then you have your working capital management, preparation of management commentaries, pricing. All of these things are largely to do with the commercial side of things, right? So this is where we call as decision support, right? So these are the areas where you kind of crunch your numbers and then enable the decision makers to take some decisions. And then all those things which do not fit into these buckets, these two buckets, are fitting into expert tasks or specialized tasks. And some of the tasks in this could be treasury, banking, M&A, fundraising, investment management, structured finance, strategy, supply chain finance. All these are specialized tasks which large companies may carry, and your role may be something in one of these. Yeah, you could also be doing or taking up technology profiles. If you're somebody who likes technology, or you are a techno-commercial kind of a person, then a BI consultant or a functional consultant can be a great role for you. A functional consultant is somebody who acts as the bridge between the business and the finance teams, and the business and the coding team or the technology team. And then you help develop them develop certain reports and analysis, or develop certain BI tools or reports which will help the decision makers take certain decisions. So that is all about specialty finance function. Now, what is the nature of work as you grow up? So when you start as a junior, and most of us, when we start as a junior, our role in most cases, there are a few exceptions, but in most cases, it could be much more compliance and transaction oriented, right? So we are responsible for accounting, the JVs, the month close, getting the statutory audit done, getting the internal audit done, commercial, the compliance aspects, the financials, the notes to accounts. All of that is much more heavy in the junior role, typically when we start with accounting audit firms background. Yeah, and we might touch upon a little bit of commercial aspects as well. Of course, there are exceptions. Some might directly get absorbed into a commercial role, which is perfectly fine as an exception. As you get into middle management, the commercial side of things starts increasing. You might think about, a team that is taking care of your compliance and transaction team, which is more like a controlling team. Okay, or you could outsource the compliance and transactions as well, and you start focusing more on the commercial side of things, decision making side of things, decision support or performance management. That is when you come into the middle management role. And as you grow senior, when I was working as a CFO, and I was 80% of my time was actually going into commercial and strategic aspects, and not even 20% of my time I used to spend on all these things like accounting standards or financials or notes to accounts or getting the statutory done. So there was a controllership team which used to handle it. Yeah. So as and when you get senior, your commercial, your strategic acumen will become even more important in these roles, right? So this is how you will transition from a less commercial work to commercial and strategic work as and when you keep growing senior. Now, what kind of a company do I start with? Now, I want to transition from an accounting and audit kind of a background to a finance function. So what kind of a company do I start with? Well, there are three types of companies: small, medium, and large, right? Small enterprises, medium enterprises, and large companies. Okay. Technically, you can start with any. I would suggest that you start with a good MNC. Now, MNCs come in all shapes and sizes, right? So some MNC could be a $2 million turnover to a $200 million turnover as well, right? So MNCs come in all shapes and sizes. I would prefer that you start with an MNC, but however, some local business groups, large conglomerates are also good enough to start your career with. Now, if you are starting with a small and medium enterprise, then your roles are likely to be pretty blended. By blended, I mean you will be the one who will be also taking care of finance and accounting. You'll be preparing the financials, notes to accounts, getting the audits done. And you will also be taking care of FP&A, treasury, commercial stuff, pricing, all of these things. Your role could be pretty blended. Okay. And if you are somebody who is first time entering into FP&A, if you're directly coming from an accounting firm, if you're trying to get a role which is into finance function, then these blended roles can be a great opportunity for you. Because here the teams or the CFOs are a little bit more accepting. They want people to come in from a big four and handle not only compliance but take on a little bit of a wider role as well, right? So that can be one of your window to enter into a finance function. Now, if you're working or targeting for a larger company, then the roles are pretty distinct, which means that even within the FP&A umbrella, your role could be something very specific. You could be handling only revenue analysis. You could be handling only travel analysis. Like I remember when I was working with a large commodity trading company, we had a team of 3 people just to analyze travel costs. We were not the travel desk. 3 people in my team were just analyzing travel costs. Because at that time, we were spending more than $2 million per month just on travel, just on business travel. So we had 2 analysts who used to just analyze travel costs. Okay, so that's how specific your role can get. You may not have the visibility of the entire P&L. You may not have the visibility of the entire business if you're working for a large company. Okay, so even if you are getting some part of FP&A or a role which is closer to FP&A but not technically FP&A, you should still take it. That can be your foot in the door to get into this larger company, and eventually you may convince your boss or you may convince the company to widen your role to cover some more elements of FP&A. So that is also possible. So small and medium enterprise, blended roles, larger company, specialized or distinct roles, eventually with the possibility to get a broader role. Now, what could be my role? So what is your role will depend on the structure and size of the company, right? Now, there could be 4 different types of roles that you may get: regional, business unit level, global shared services, or project or a client-based kind of a role. Now, let's touch upon each of these a little bit. Now, in a regional kind of a setup, you could be responsible for financial aspects of only one single region. You could be FP&A manager North, you could be FP&A analyst South, something like that, right? Or you could be FP&A manager APAC, FP&A manager EMEA, right? So that could be one of your roles where you are responsible for finance or FP&A of a specific region. Then there could be a corporate FP&A role as well, a corporate FP&A role where you could be part of the headquarters, and your duty is to liaison with all these regions or business units, and then you consolidate, you compile, and you give analysis to the FP&A head or finance director or CFO, as the case may be. Now, in a business unit structure, your role could be embedded within a business unit. So you could be FP&A manager. Here in front of you on your screen, you're seeing an oil and gas company example. So you could be FP&A manager aviation fuel. You could be FP&A analyst gas SBU, right? So you could be part of embedded in this business unit, and you are dealing with the cross-functional teams like production, sales, marketing, and all of the business teams. And then you are giving the data to the central finance team or the corporate finance team. Alternatively, you could be in the corporate finance team where your duty is to liaison with these embedded finance team, collect the information, study it, analyze it, ask questions about it, and finally submit it to the senior management for decision making. So that could be one of your role in the business unit structure. Now, you could be part of a global shared services structure, right? Where many companies from Europe, America, and across the world, they are outsourcing their work to India and other low-cost economies like Philippines, and all these countries where a lot of back office and mid office functions are being carried out by shared services out of these centers. So I was also part of a global shared services of a commodity trading company. So where we were serving more than 80 countries, entities based in more than 80 countries, and we were handling all the cost and accounting and FP&A sitting here in Mumbai. Yeah, so that could be one of your roles where you could be sitting in part of these shared services centers, and you're listening with business stakeholders across the globe to collect certain information and provide certain analysis as well. Now, alternatively, you could be based in any of these geographies. You could be an FP&A manager in America. You could be an FP&A manager sitting in Europe, where your team of analysts is sitting in some shared services center in India or Philippines, right? So you could be liaising with this team in India, getting the analysis, basic analysis done, and you take the decision part, or you take the business partnering part of part on ground, where you're liaising with the other cross-functional teams. So that is also possible. Yeah, moving forward. So what could be your role in a project or a client-based kind of a setup, right? You could be embedded in a project. Like for example, let's say if a large construction company gets a project to construct a refinery. Now constructing a refinery takes at least 3 to 4 years. So which means you could be handling finance function of, or finance also of just this project of building this refinery. Or you could be in a large software company where you're analyzing projects or a certain cluster of clients or cluster of projects where you're looking at project profitability, project revenue recognition, project costing, project performance, all of these things, or client performance, client profitability. All of these things is also possible in a client-based kind of a setup. Now, project-based kind of setup is very common in companies like construction company, interior design, architecture firms. All these are project-based, and client-based setup is very common in advertising services or software companies or any of these service-based companies. Here, a client-based kind of a setup is pretty common. Yeah. Now, how is industry going to be different? Okay. The first thing that you need to fit in your mind is start thinking beyond compliance. Okay. Businesses are not run by accounting standards or IFRS or US GAAP or whatever the accounting methodology that you may prefer to use. Okay. So first, our mindset should be that how do we support the business? Okay. Now, to support the business, we need to understand the performance of the business. And performance of the business can be understood by understanding the performance conversations and not compliance conversations. Okay. Compliance conversations circle around things like accounting standards, TDS or withholding taxes, your GST, your VAT, your notes to accounts, your prior period items or disclosures. All these things are compliance conversations. Okay. Sometimes I get this. I was an auditor. I used to get this high when I used to find a prior period item or some item that needs to be disclosed or something like that, or something which is not as per accounting standard. I'm advising that as per accounting standard, so and so, this is how it needs to be done. Well, all that is important. When I moved on the business side, I realized that, yeah, big deal. You find a prior period item, disclose it, finish it off. How is it altering my business performance anyway? So compliance conversations took a backseat when finance function got serious. So that's when you will need to start learning performance conversations. Now, performance conversations are all about revenue, gross margins, product profitability, client profitability, budgeting, pricing, forecasts, short-term forecasts, medium-term forecasts, capex evaluations, IRRs, NPVs. All these things are performance conversations, which are essentially there to support decision making, so that the decision makers can take prudent financial decisions and manage the performance of the business. Okay, I hope this distinction is very clear between compliance conversations and performance conversations. Now, the second thing that is super important is to understand that finance is not an isolated function. You will always be interacting with cross-functional teams like HR, sales, business development, operations, production, legal, taxes, consultants. So many people you will always be interacting with. In most cases, to collect inputs and inputs and updates from them, and then also provide reports and insights. You will also need to provide them with the right insights so that they can take certain decisions. Okay. On many occasions, I've collaborated with the sales team to pitch for a certain business, to come up with the pricing for a certain bid. Right. On many times, I have collaborated with the HR team to understand the cost impact of attrition on our business. Okay, we were a service-based company, so people was our important cost. So people were coming, leaving, so there was a certain attrition percentage. And financially, we wanted to understand whether attrition is expensive or is it actually saving us some money. And it can save money in some cases. So where you are replacing a junior person with a senior person with a junior person, or there is a time lag in replacement of certain positions. So there can be scenarios where you are actually attrition on the face of it can actually lead you some saving. Of course, there are hidden costs like, training and everything to bring people up to speed. So that is, of course, the hidden cost. But on the face of it, attrition can lead certain savings as well. So this is just an example. So this way, you will have to collaborate with so many teams. Legal teams, my God. So I have maintained so many times I had to maintain good relations with legal teams so that I had to kind of fast track my contract to be evaluated, because there are other business units in the company, so they are also fighting for legal team's time, and I want my contract to be fast tracked and reviewed first, and then so that I can go back to the client and say that, okay, these are the changes that we suggest. So on many occasions, I have collaborated with the legal team as well. So this way, finance is not going to be a function of isolation. So relationships become super, super important for you to become a successful FP&A professional. Now, how does a typical day look like? Now, I'm going to give you a day of a CFO or a senior finance professional, and not necessarily an FP&A analyst or somebody who works deeply in FP&A, right? So this is just one example, which could be, this used to be my day, at some point in time, right? So let's say 9:30 to 10:30, I come into the office. My most important task is during the month close. I prepare the month close commentaries, your budget versus actuals analysis, and all of that stuff, and prepare these management commentaries. 10:30 to 11:30, I have a meeting with the sales team or the client team to help them build a pricing for a certain bid. We are bidding for a large project, and we are trying to understand the so we are trying to understand the pricing discussion as well. So then you have I have a call with the landlord to discuss the rent renewal for our office. Sometimes landlords can be really funny. They may act certain thing. They may pitch for an escalation, and we have to negotiate back. Then approve certain bank payments. I was the bank authorized signatory in my company, so I used to reserve time just before my lunchtime to authorize certain bank payments, and then break for lunch. Review accounts receivable aging. As CFO or as a senior finance professionals, you are collectively responsible for everything, the entire finance and accounting function. So I used to review accounts receivable aging and discuss with the business heads as to why certain overdues are not being able to, we are not being able to collect certain overdues. Audits are always a part of, they'll always come and hit you, at the most unexpected times. So there could be government audits, there could be internal audits, statutory audits, and you might end up, the team might end up working on it, and you might have to review certain documents, or you might have to prepare certain documents as well, as the case may be, right? So this used to be some, a brief glimpse of how my typical day used to be. Of course, there could be a number of variations in this, but this is how a typical day of a finance professional looks like. Now, how does a typical month look like? I'm now talking about the month, right? It's a broader range. So how does a typical month look like? Week 1 is all about your month close, your actual versus budget commentary, your management commentaries, your statutory compliances, your return filing. All of that needs to be done in week 1. If you are at the analyst level, then you are actually preparing the commentaries, or you're doing the analysis. You are getting deep into the numbers and trying to understand where the variance is coming from. Yeah. And if you are at a mid or senior level, so somebody will be preparing the analysis for you, and you will be reviewing these reports. You will be reviewing the month close reports, the month close P&L, the commentaries, and then finally submitting it to the CFO or senior management, as the case may be. And then week 2 is all about, again, this is a service company example. So you will see invoicing as a standalone activity, but invoicing could be something which is a continuous thing. Every minute, every single second, invoices must be being raised in a trading company or a manufacturing or a retail kind of a company. Yeah. Recharges is something, intercompany transactions. Sometimes you may incur certain common costs which you will have to recharge out to other group companies. Forecast updates. Some companies might be following a monthly forecast or a quarterly forecast. So depending on how your company follows, what cycle your company follows, you will have to get in touch with the business teams to understand what does a short-term forecast look like, what does the next 3 months look like, will we be able to meet the current month's numbers or the upcoming month's numbers. All of those discussions we do sometime in week 2, and update the forecasts and upload them in the system. Week 3 is generally a little bit lighter in terms for a finance function. So we take up certain automation projects or try and automate some mundane activities, working capital review, intercompany reconciliations, all those kind of things which are a little bit lighter in terms of, or automation is actually a value add activity. So all these kind of things are taken care of in week 3. Week 4, again, the busy period starts. It starts preparation for month close. You need to look at your estimated revenue, look for revenue close. Your accounts payable team will close their books and pass all the accrual JVs. The fixed asset team will close the fixed asset register and then compute the depreciation, pass those JVs. All these things happen, and then finally at the end of the month, your month-end reporting packs are prepared. Now, sometimes in some companies, this month-end reporting packs are prepared in the first week of the subsequent month as well. Some companies aim for a last working day close, which is fine. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it does not happen. It completely depends on the maturity of your organization. So this is what a broader month looks like. So typically, if I have to, somebody asked a question in the chat box that what happens for junior, mid, senior positions. For junior positions, typically you will end up preparing all of these things, preparing a lot of these things. And at mid, senior levels, you will end up reviewing a lot of these things, right? But the overall activities of the finance function would be more or less the same. Yeah, but your role might evolve as and when you get senior in the company. Now, how do we prepare for this shift? Now, how do we prepare for this shift? What actions can we take to take some tangible steps to move from finance to move from an audit to a finance function, or an accounting to a finance kind of a function? Yeah. So let's look at some of the steps one by one. Not an exhaustive list, just an indicative list, what we are trying to cover here. First thing would be leverage your sectoral experience. Like if you have worked, say, for example, in insurance industry, now try and get an FP&A role in an insurance industry. If you are working in, let's say, Big Fours, but you ended up auditing a lot of software companies, yeah, so then you have some software industry understanding. Yeah, you might understand some terminology like what is unearned revenue, unearned revenue and unbilled revenue and all of these things. You might understand some software industry terminologies. Then leverage this to try and get a FP&A role in a software company first. Now, so there you stand a higher chance. In the first half page of your resume, okay, you need to display your industry understanding and a little bit of analysis oriented work that you have done. So that's how your FP&A resume might get a little bit of more attention. Okay, find job through your network. Again, a no-brainer. More than half of the jobs get actually filled by unpublished roles, which means by the time you see a job posting on LinkedIn or Naukri or any of these job positions or job portals, it's already late. It's already late. Sometimes they may not be able to find the right candidate, in which case you may actually, get a call by applying. But in most cases, I would say in more than 60 to 70% of the cases, vacancies are filled through references. They don't even make it to the job portal, right? So try and be part of a network or a group where you will see these kind of jobs being shared. Okay, we also run a WhatsApp group. We also run a Telegram group where we keep sharing jobs, typically in India and Middle East. Okay, don't ask us for a job guarantee. We can't give you that. Just that whenever we get or come across any open positions, we try and put it in that WhatsApp group so that at least you stand a chance to apply for it. Okay, not everything is our reference or not. We don't know everybody from where we get these jobs from, but in some cases we do. Some cases we have some level of influence. We can try and do that as well. So try and find jobs through your network. Make compliance your bridge. So when you're transitioning from an accounting or an audit kind of a firm to a industry, even if you're getting a compliance role, let's say you are now a statutory auditor in one of the Big Fours or an audit firm, and now you're getting a accounting or a finance compliance kind of a role in an industry, on the industry side, where you are just on the other side of the table. You are preparing the financial statements, you are getting the statutory audit done, you are coordinating with the statutory auditors. Take it up. Okay, make that as your bridge to move on the industry side. And I can tell you, I can guarantee you, having worked for 15 years in the industry roles are very, very dynamic. Companies do not want you to stay in the same role for 10, 15, 20, 30 years and retire from there. No. People keep changing. Businesses keep changing, right? Systems keep evolving. There are so much of action happening. Of course, that action happens in a broader window. If I look at a 3 to 5 year window in all of the companies that I have worked with, okay, some or the other thing has happened. There has been a merger that has happened. There is a CFO change that has happened. There is a CEO change that has happened. There is restructuring that has happened. There is a demerger that has happened. There's a merger that has happened. Some or the other action keeps happening. Okay. And that can be a trigger, an opportunity for you to transition into a different kind of a role. Right. So make that attempt. Don't be too fixated about, no, I'll move to the industry only when I get a finance role or an FP&A role. No. Even if you have to move to a compliance kind of a role, move first. Get that industry tag with you. Build some relationships. Build some equity within the company. And then ask for an FP&A role. they would be much more willing to consider you, right? Learn certain FP&A tools. Again, this is not an exhaustive list. You don't need to spend 100 hours to learn these tools, but I would just say that, learning some level of FP&A tools. Yeah. So you can learn some kind of FP&A tools like Power BI, Tableau, at least the basics of it. Spend 15, 20 hours with these tools, not much, not more than that. Okay. At least get to a level where you understand how these tools operate. And if need be, once you notice that your company is extensively using a certain tool, it could be any tool. It could be Cognos, it could be Power BI, it could be Tableau, it could be SQL, it could be anything that your company is using. Then you take firm steps to put in more hours, put in 40, 50 hours to learn this tool. That is going to make your life easier. It is going to make you so super efficient. Okay, you will be able to get brownie points in your role, right? So having some level of tool understanding is required. Okay. However, at least have an understanding to mention that on your resume. You understand basics of Power BI, Tableau, basics of SQL. If you can just mention that on your resume, you might increase your chances. It's not a substitute for your conceptual FP&A knowledge, but at least it's an aid. It's a brownie point that you can score on your resume. Now, create a reason with a qualification. Sometimes you can get a qualification. Sometimes you can do a management program from an institute, do a certification program from an institute, right? And that becomes your reason, that becomes your trigger, okay, to move into a FP&A kind of a role, right? So you move from a compliance role to an FP&A kind of a role, right? And if you're trying for an internal transfer within the company, things don't change overnight. Okay? The day you put out that intention that you want to move to some other organization move to some other department within the same company, move from an accounting to an FP&A kind of a department within the same company, managers or leaders cannot make that change immediately. Okay, you have to allow them time. You'll have to allow them 3 to 6 months to rejig things, and then they may consider your candidature. Yeah, in these 3 to 6 months, you have to always keep giving them soft indications that, hey, by the way, I completed this Power BI course recently. It's very interesting. It helps in a lot of analysis. Okay. By the way, I did this, I think there was an interesting ratio analysis webinar that I attended the other day. You see, so I'm not saying that transfer me to FP&A role right away, but I'm just giving them soft hints. Okay. I've already put out my intention that I would like to move to FP&A at some point in time. Okay. But right now there might not be a vacancy. But when that vacancy comes, by giving these soft hints, somewhere down the line, 4 months, 6 months down the line, you will be able to move to that kind of a role as well. Okay, so there are some questions in the chat box, I know, so we'll answer that. Let me cover this in the flow and we'll take your questions for sure. So these are some of the things, again, not an exhaustive list, but these are some of the things that you can look to adapt to move towards an FP&A role. One thing I would like to tell you, finance as a function is much broader than FP&A. Okay, don't be too fixated that I want to do analysis only. Every day I have to do analysis. Because as a CFO, I used to deal with so much of shit, and none of it at times was analysis, right? And as a finance professional, you have to learn to be a problem solver. You have to learn to adapt yourself according to the requirements of the business. And not everything is going to fit to your analysis framework. Sometimes you have to clean the shit. Sometimes you have to get into the shit. Sometimes somebody else will do the, clean the shit for you, and you have to just review that, right? So all of this is possible. So once you are out of your accounting and compliance framework, okay, be open for accepting roles. Take on a pricing role, take on an analysis role, take on a treasury role. It's fine. Because when you grow up to the ranks of becoming a CFO, you cannot pick and choose. When you become a CFO someday, everybody will report to you. The compliance guy will report to you. The tax guy will report to you. The ERP guy will report to you. The IT guy might report to you. Who knows, right? And you can't say that, hey, Mr. Tax, don't report to me. I don't like taxes. No, you can't say that. So even if you are getting a diverse set of roles to work with over a longer period of 8 to 10 year horizon, you should take it. You should take it. And not everything can be FP&A. And tell me something, will you be ready to or able to work in FP&A for 30 years, 40 years? It's a long career, right? After you qualify, your working life is probably for 35 years. In that maybe 3-4 years you will do FP&A. Fifth year you will get bored with FP&A also. Then what? Right? So don't be too fixated that okay, I have to land FP&A role right away. Yeah, it could come your way maybe 1 year down the line, 2 year down the line. Be open about it. Be accepting about it. Okay, let's move forward. Now here's a quick framework to build your FP&A career. Right? Now think about building your FP&A career as constructing a house. Right? To construct a solid house, everything starts by foundations. So conceptual understanding of FP&A elements becomes your foundation. You have to understand things like revenue, gross margins, profitability, budget, forecast, rolling forecast. All of these terminologies you will have to understand and build that conceptual understanding, the foundation of conceptual understanding for yourself. Okay. Then comes your soft skills, your communication. How do you build relationships with people? How do you interact with other cross-functional teams? It is not a role where you will sit behind your desk, do some Excel work, and then go home. People will come to you with weird requests. People will come to you with challenging requests. The sales guys, the business guys are much more, I would say, ruthless, much more outgoing, much more open in communication compared to what finance and accounting professionals are generally used to deal with, right? So those can be overwhelming. So work on your soft skills. Start working on your soft skills right away. Okay. Then comes your experience, right? Experience of a certain industry or a sector can really come to your advantage. Okay. Now I'll give you a very, very live example, right? So I was working as a CFO in India of a public relations company, of a large American public relations company. Okay. That triggered some other American public relations company to approach me on LinkedIn for a regional finance role, which is based in Dubai. Okay, so from India, I ended up moving to Dubai. So last 1.5 years, I was serving as a CFO in Dubai, right? So sectoral understanding becomes very, very important at senior levels. So you start building it, as and when you can, you start building it. And at some point in time, maybe 8-10 years, when you have about 8-10 years experience, and if you have worked only in certain industry, then that becomes your advantage. Okay, use it to the fullest. Think about it. If I am the CEO of a software company, I want to hire a senior, I want to hire a CFO or a senior finance professional in my company. Where would I look? Will I post here and there, or will I try and look here and there? Simple. I would go to the next 3 competitors. Poach from there. I would hire a person who's a finance manager, make him senior finance manager, and give him a role in my company, give him a 20% hike, 30% hike. Okay. If I have to hire a CFO, I would look for a person who is 1 level below CFO in my next top 3 competitors. I would make him a CFO. This way I would get my competitor insights as well. And this guy who's directly reporting to the CFO and has been doing that in the last 3-4 years, I'm sure he's very much capable of becoming a CFO as well. Right? So I might take that bet. So this way, leverage your experience to land those roles as well. Tools, again, tools can become your aid if you are an expert at a certain tool. Now, it could be Power BI, SQL, it could be any tool that you decide to work on, right? That can be your added advantage. That can actually simplify your life. The moment you join a company, if you're able to give some quick wins, some quick automations, then that will help you become a more respected finance professional within the setup as well. Yeah. And then you top it up with improve, lead, and adapt. So basically, you keep constantly improving in terms of your industry understanding, your conceptual understanding, your tools understanding. Yeah. And at some point in time, you'll have to graduate to become a leader, right? You just can't keep being an FP&A analyst forever. You can't be FP&A analyst for 30 years. At some point in time, 2-3 years down the line, you will start leading a couple of analysts under you, a couple of juniors under you, right? And then you all continuously keep adapting to the nature of the business. Yeah. So that is your that's a quick framework for you to build your FP&A career. Now, I know many people are commenting about certifications and all of that. We'll cover everything. Just stay with us for some time. Just stay with us. Let's do a quick recap of what we have covered so far. Okay. So we first started by understanding the industry landscape, and 4 different kind of industries where you might be working: public accounting, banks, financial institutions, all the classic corporates. Okay. 3 broad profiles: finance and compliance oriented, commercial oriented or business partnering oriented, and then some expert tasks like treasury, forex hedging. All of those things could be very niche or specialty tasks as well. Yeah. And then we try to understand where could be your possible roles. You could be in a regional FP&A role or a business unit FP&A role, or you could be part of a global shared services center or a center of excellence, or you could be in a project-based or a client-based kind of a setup as well. Yeah. We also quickly took a look at how a typical day or a month looks like. It could be, it could range from very, very mundane activity like signing an invoice or authorizing a bank payment to something very strategic to discuss company expansion or expanding to a new geography. That is a range of discussion that you might end up having in a finance function. Yeah. Move your, we also talked about compliance to commercial. That is how you will have to rewire yourself to first understand the commercial aspects and understand how you support the business, with your performance conversations, understanding of performance conversations. Yeah. Mindset shifts, think beyond compliance. Finance is not an isolated function. So you will always end up interacting with other cross-functional teams. Just give me a second. How many? Half an hour. Okay. Go to mama. Sorry, that is my 5-year-old. Okay, so finance is not an isolated function. So you will always be interacting with multiple cross-functional teams. So relationships becomes very, very important in these kind of roles. And then finally, we also discussed about how do you take action? What actions do you take to, what are the kind of preparations you can do when you're not in that FP&A kind of role? So leverage your sector experience, focus on unpublished jobs or trying to get a job through your network. Use compliance as a bridge. Use audit as a bridge. Use tax as a bridge. Use accounting as a bridge to move to a certain sector that you already know. And then you start there in any finance and accounting role that you get, and then slowly transition towards a finance kind of a function. And then learn some basic tools and qualifications, at least to a level that you can put something about it in your resume. And then when you notice that some company is extensively using a certain tool, then invest more hours to learn those tools as well. So these are some of the things that you can do to prepare. Now, how do you prepare for finance roles? So here are some next steps that I would like to present to you, right? So I bring you back to the slides about various finance and accounting roles in a large company, right? So 3 broad buckets: finance, compliance-oriented bucket, then business finance or commercial side, and then specialty finance function. Yeah. Now, this gets covered largely with your accounting roles. If you are coming from any of the accounting or auditing background or have your graduation in accounting, then your CA, CPA, ACCA, CS, all of these things, CMA, all of these things can actually cover these aspects as well, where a lot of emphasis is given on financials, statements, notes to accounts, getting your internal audit, statutory audit, compliance is done, Forex regulations, all of those things are covered here. Okay. And the second part, which is your commercial aspects, which is about decision support, which is about performance management. This is all about experiential learning. Not many certifications or not many courses, traditional kind of courses, cover these aspects. Okay. So back when Asif and I started our FP&A journey, we had nobody to guide us, right? So we all learned FP&A by whatever our seniors taught. Sometimes I used to go and sit in the other business unit with the finance manager in the other business unit, because none of the seniors in my business unit had any experience with FP&A. So I used to sit there, understand how it is done, and then is to execute for my own department as well. So it was all about learning on our own. But fortunately, today we live in the online learning space. So we live in a space where there are umpteen number of sources available for us to learn and pick up these commercial aspects, right? And that is where FP&A Professional Institute comes into play. So that is where Asif and I have co-founded FP&A Professional Institute, where our role, our main aim is to equip you with FP&A and finance-oriented experiential learning, so that you can go ahead and apply for these FP&A roles as well. So at FP&A Professionals Institute, so we have curated something called as FP&A Masterclass, which is a live coaching program which Asif and I conduct. Okay. And the benefits of this program is that it helps you understand finance roles better, particularly FP&A role, in a much better way, much deeper way. It will help you rewire your mindset, right? Like I said, compliance mindset is very different from working in the finance function, working in the FP&A function, right? Supporting the business is always a priority. So it will help you rewire your mindset. equips you with all essential FP&A concepts, your budgeting, your forecasting, your management reporting, your variance analysis. All of these things are covered in FP&A Masterclass. It helps you think beyond compliance, like support the business. And we also share a lot of practical tips and strategies through continuing sessions as well. So we do one session a month where either we do a Q&A or we try and bring expert speakers to keep doing various sessions every month as well. So the next batch of FP&A Masterclass is starting in April. So what is covered in FP&A Masterclass? So module 1 is all about budgeting and forecasting. So we cover steps in budgeting. We look at practical examples of various sectors, like how it is done in B2B, how it is done in B2C, all practical examples, all 100% practical examples and experiential learning, okay, through group discussions, through case studies, through role plays, right? Management reporting and analysis is module 2, where we show you different types of reports. How does a month-end report look like? How does a flash report look like? What are the different types of reports and commentaries that companies use, actual versus plan analysis? All of that is covered in module 2. Module 3 is all about storytelling and presentations. See, the way you communicate with non-finance team members in the company, okay, is what will determine your success as a finance professional. They don't understand 10,000 lines of Excel sheet like we do, right? That is where your storytelling, your presentations, how the simple steps that you take to communicate the information becomes very, very important. So that is covered in module 3. Then comes finance business partnering. It's all about understanding business acumen. How do you partner with the business? How do you use certain tips and techniques to become a better business partner? Understand the needs of the business and become a better finance professional. So all these are covered across 4 modules, and we cover this through 4 weeks. Sessions are on Saturdays and Sundays, 2 hours every Saturday and Sunday. So 16 hours is all we ask, just like your favorite binge watch, right? 4 weeks you spend with us for 16 hours, 8 to 10 p.m. on Saturdays, Sundays, and you will notice that you have significantly elevated your FP&A skills. You're significantly elevated your chances of getting into FP&A. Yeah. So the next batch is starting on 13th of April, which is next Saturday. Okay. And sessions are held on Saturdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. IST. 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. IST. That's an evening batch. We've particularly kept it as an evening batch to cover our friends in UK and US students as well. Right. So this is about FP&A Masterclass. Right. And if you look at other FP&A courses available in the market, right? So there are many courses available in the market. Any short form course that you will take, could range anywhere between $1,000 to $5,000 as well, right? Here, what we are providing in FP&A Masterclass is not just the 16 hours of coaching program. We'll also give you something called as FP&A Foundations course, which you can immediately start, right? The moment you enroll into Masterclass, you will be given access to Foundations course, so you can start with conceptual knowledge right away. Case studies, group discussions, role plays, everything we cover live. Yeah. And then we also give you interview prep secrets, 2 bonuses called interview prep secrets and power resume blueprint. So how do you tweak your resume to increase your chances to get that call for FP&A? How do you prepare for FP&A interviews when you've not worked in FP&A at all, right? All those things are covered in these 2 particular sessions. That is FP&A interview prep secrets and power resume blueprint. Then we give you access to mastermind calls, which is our monthly session where we bring in expert speakers. Sometimes we conduct FP&A tool demos. Last week, we had a speaker from the US who's working in Amazon. He came with us and shared a landscape of the different tools that he is using in his organization, like SQL, Alteryx. There are so many other tools that he's using in his organization. So he gave us an overview of what tool will help us to solve what problem in terms of data analysis, right? So all these kind of different sessions are conducted during our monthly mastermind calls, and they also act as Q&A calls where you can discuss anything that you have, any questions that you have about FP&A live with Asif and me, right? The value of this is easily worth over $1,000, easily worth over $1,000. Okay, and don't take our word for it. We have got dozens and dozens of testimonials. More than 300 people have now taken FP&A Masterclass, and there are tons of testimonials which we cannot cover everything on one slide. So we can definitely vouch for this program. And what you see is batch 10. So this is much more evolved version of the feedback that we have got from all the past students. Yeah. So the investment in this FP&A Masterclass is at $347 only, $347 only. But now we are starting this batch in April. So we only have got about a week left to start this batch. And we only have 5 seats left at an early bird price, at an early bird fee of $297. $297. Okay. So this is the early bird fee. I can guarantee you that the worth of this, once you invest your time in this, you will notice that the worth of it is far more than $297. And we have got tons and tons of testimonials to support that. Okay. So what we will now do is, before we get into the Q&A, so Asif, let's paste the link of the FP&A masterclass in the chat box. FP&A masterclass in the chat box, along with the coupon code to avail the early bird price. Now, remember, we only have got 5 seats left at early bird price, and the class is starting next Sunday, so you have to decide fast. Typically, the early bird coupon, we mentioned that it ends tonight or it ends at midnight, but we will be extending this till tomorrow morning. So tomorrow, 10:30 p.m. IST, 10:30 a.m. IST is till when the coupon code will be available. So you can avail the $50 off and enroll into the masterclass. After this masterclass, after this session, you can go into the link. You can see, you can understand what is there. If you have any questions, please DM us on LinkedIn. We're happy to answer any of those questions about the masterclass. Okay. So Asif has pasted the link in the chat box. You can go to that link, and we'll also share the coupon code with you. Yes, the coupon code is pasted, which says early 50. Early 50 is the coupon code. So go and take the $50 off. And I can guarantee you that this will be a great step for you to step into the finance careers. If you have not yet experienced any finance and accounting, a finance kind of role, and you have been in auditing and accounting throughout, then this can be a great experience for you guys. Okay. Now, happy to take any questions that you have. Thank you for attending. So we have deliberately kept this session just under 1 hour so that we have enough time to take any questions that you might have. So please raise your hand if you have any questions, or put them in the chat box. Now, there are some questions in the chat box. So first, let me take those questions from the chat box, and then we can take other questions as well. Okay. Fareen has a question. How can we bridge other than via compliance? I'm currently in Big 4 under audit, looking forward to an analyst role. See, like I said, one of the best bets could be to join a mid-size firm, mid-size, small and medium enterprise. Yeah. There, the structure typically is there's a head of finance or a CFO, and you have like 4 or 5 people, or 4 to 10 people at best in the company. A couple of them are handling compliance, a couple of them are handling FP&A. So there you might get a chance to get a blended role where your prior Big 4 experience might also come into play. And along with doing your compliance duties, you will also get to view what's happening on the budgeting, forecasting, and management reporting side as well. So that can be your best bet as well. So that can be one of the alternatives as well. Nathan has a question. Does it help to go for certain courses like CFA, Executive MBA to help the transition? See, all these courses are a good to have. None of them is a guarantee for an FP&A role. But however, when you do these roles, courses, it does send a message on your resume that yes, this person is interested beyond just accounting and auditing. Yeah. So they do that job of sending that message. Now, Executive MBA is a different ballgame. So at some point in time, when you have about 8, 10, 12 years experience, at that time, your interaction with other cross-functional teams will be much more extensive than what you are at the junior levels. Right? At that time, I think an Executive MBA would be much more helpful and beneficial. Right? If you don't have about 7 to 10 years of experience, then don't think about Executive MBA right now. Yeah. So you can do that much later. There are many hybrid programs. There are many senior management programs or strategic management programs that have come into play, which these top B schools are conducting now, which is a 4 months, 6 month, 8 month kind of a program. That is also good enough for you to transition, or at that level, at when you are mid-senior kind of a level as well. Ruchika has a question. Does financial planning and analysis certification from FP&A AC Institute help in the long run for FP&A? See, the honest answer is that FPAC certification can help you, but just that today we are in a situation where the certification is not actively being asked for. Right? If you ask me that if there is a job posting that comes on LinkedIn or anywhere, you will not see that we are looking for a FPAC, we are looking for a CFA, we are looking for a CMA, right? Like how you see CA, CMA, CFA, nobody at the moment is asking for FPAC certification. Now that may happen sometime, that may happen 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line as well, right? So at that point in time, the certification, having a certification might give you an early movers advantage, right? So that is one thing. Now, the second thing to answer the question, Ruchika, is that we have some good news for you. So FP&A Professionals Institute is coming up with a 6-month detailed certification program. It's called Certified Global FP&A Professional. It is a 6-month program, long form format. It has exams. It is a hybrid learning where we we ask you to do some homework as well. We do live coaching. There are expert instructors across 10 different modules, data analytics, strategy, everything, right? So that is a 6-month certification that we're coming up with. The launch is scheduled for May. So watch out for it. But as of now, if you ask me, Masterclass serves the purpose. It should help you get a FP&A roles. Many people have got FP&A roles by completing the Masterclass as well. Can a fresher get, CA fresher get into FP&A role? Of course, why not? But again, the chances are that you could get a blended role in a small and medium enterprise, because that is where your chartered accountant, is more valuable, right? In a large company, there are like hundreds of chartered accountants, so why would they even give you a shot? They have larger budgets. They can easily afford somebody who already has prior FP&A experience. Yeah. So it's difficult, but not impossible. Okay. Try with a blended role. The reason why I say blended role is because even in a small and medium enterprise, FP&A happens, right? So you do budgeting, you do forecasting, you do management reporting. When you get these terms, when you get these blended experience on your resume, then it becomes easier for you to aim for a larger company. Yeah. So that is in a specific FP&A role. So that also is one of the ways to do it. Srinivas has a question. So I have 10 years experience in London Stock Exchange Group, mostly in equity financial markets products. I want to switch my career into FP&A. Please note that I'm not from commerce. I'm not a commerce graduate. Please answer. So yeah, see, FP&A, the short answer is that FP&A is all about supporting the CFO and the finance function. Yeah, with different kind of analysis. Now, it could be pricing, it could be management commentaries, it could be budgeting, it could be forecasting, it could be capex evaluations, it could be anything, right? So as long as you are aiming for a role on the industry side, where you want to work in a finance team, where you want to work in the CFO's office to support certain functions, go ahead and make that transition, right? And your knowledge of stock exchange might come into play. The analysis part of your knowledge. In 10 years, I'm sure you must have done analysis, right? It's not just some compliance-oriented work that you might have done, right? So you might have done a lot of analysis. So bring that analysis in the forefront of your resume, right? Probably in the first half page of your resume. That might help you land a role in a certain sector or a certain industry. Yeah. Even stock exchanges need FP&A. So maybe you can try looking for that as well. Or stock brokers might need FP&A. Yeah. Okay, Madhurima has a question. I am a financial analyst working basically with US public sector issuers. Okay. I usually don't have the exposure to company audit reports. How do I keep myself updated for the FP&A role? See, again, company audit reports are something which are for external stakeholders, right? If I'm looking at a financial statement, a notes to accounts, everything, right? So this is for somebody who's an external stakeholder, a shareholder, a financial analyst, right? So, and somebody who's external to the company. So FP&A roles are more internal focused, internal looking. Okay. The CFO knows where the dead bodies are buried, right? The finance team knows where the dead bodies are buried, right? So it's more internal looking, internal analysis, revenue analysis, working capital analysis, cost analysis, profitability analysis. So all this is internal, right? So even if you don't have access to the company audit reports, as long as you are able to visualize how a CFO office functions, right? Or get a conceptual understanding of it, okay, that is where, like I said, experiential learning, that's what Asaf and I are trying to share. So you should be good enough to get an FP&A role and not necessarily go through company audit reports. Tushar has a question. So there are many MNCs who offshore there's some FP&A department work to India. So these roles do not involve much complex work like preparing reports and posting manual entry journals. Okay. So do you recommend someone to start their career with these kind of roles? Absolutely. See, offshore is the future, my friend. So if you are in any of these low-cost economies like India, Philippines, right, work is going to come to India, right? More and more work from US, UK, anywhere in the world is going to get automated, is going to get outsourced to India, right? So take up a role. I have been in a FP&A role in a shared services company. So we were managing FP&A for entities spread across more than 80 different countries. We were managing $45 million of overheads related FP&A, right? So take it, and it is still FP&A, even if it's an offshore entity. How regularly do you have masterclass? Generally, we aim to do one every alternate month. Sometimes it's morning batch, sometimes it's evening batch. When we do morning batch, we get a request for evening batch. When we do evening batch, we get a request for morning batch. So we try and balance it out, but we try and cover at least one every alternate month. Yeah. So the next batch is starting in April. May or June, we still haven't thought about it. April is what we have right now. Okay, Mohammad Ahad has a question. If someone works with monthly operational KPIs reporting, daily operational reports, management reporting, also work with sales and inventory data, global can be related to FP&A role? Absolutely. Absolutely, it is FP&A role. See, when you look at FP&A roles, sorry, there's some phone vibrating. Can you please mute yourself? Asif, can you mute? Mute Fawaz Iqbal. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that yes, this is absolutely FP&A role. So doing MIS, doing monthly analysis, inventory analysis, costing, all this forms part of FP&A. See, like I said, depending on the size and structure of the company, FP&A role may not necessarily give you a full P&L visibility or full CFO level visibility. Yeah, sometimes you are doing only small part of FP&A. Okay, but eventually you will get into every part. Get into a broader part of FP&A. But even if you're doing just revenue analysis, right? Like for example, I spoke to somebody in my mentoring call. Somebody was working with Accenture, and there is a role called client financial management or something like that, right? So all they do is client related financial analysis, client profitability, client revenue analysis, client level resourcing, client level compliances, everything. So everything only related to client level finance. Okay, so that is also FP&A. It will not necessarily be a whole gamut of FP&A, but it is partially FP&A, right? You should take it. At some point in time, it will evolve into a broader FP&A role as well. Sai Kiran says, I'm an internal audit role. However, the company is one of its kind, registrar and transfer agent, okay, which can be used as an experience, can be used as a bridge. Sure. So see, any industry for that matter, you try to give it a broader color, right? Registrar and transfer agent can be, a broader sector into financial services, yeah, or any industry where it rolls up into a broader sector. Okay, you can try there. Like for example, if I work for a services company, now services company could mean software services, advertising services, interior design firms, architecture firms. There are so many different kind of service companies. So broaden the sector a little bit and try and approach service-based companies or any other companies that you want to target, which are near to your industry. Okay, so we have a lot of questions. YS, I don't know who's that. Does FP&A role work only on the P&L statement or the work on three financial statements as well? Generally, when we talk about FP&A, we talk about the P&L statement, the management reporting, generally. Okay, but if you are working in a startup kind of an environment, then a 3-statement financial projection, a 3-statement financial model is also required for you to prepare. It could be for your investors, it could be for your bankers, right? You will end up working on that aspect as well. How to get updates about FP&A jobs? We don't have a magic formula, but you can definitely join the WhatsApp group or the Telegram group actually. So Asif, we can share the Telegram group link in the Audit to FP&A WhatsApp group, so you can join that. We keep sharing some of the other jobs there. Yeah. Okay. So Bhavika says, hi, I'm a CA intern and now started CPA course as well. currently I'm into RTR process and want to switch completely to FP&A profile. Will this help? So again, CPA like CA is more compliance focused, right? So CPA is more like a chartered accountancy, but in the US, right? So it may not necessarily help you switch into an FP&A role. But having CPA might open some doors in US based companies, which could be in India, US based companies where they might be open to consider a CPA for a financial analysis kind of a role as well. So that might be a possibility for you. Again, depending on what experience you have got during your CA inter, you might have had some audit experience or articleship experience. See what sectors you have worked with and try and get an FP&A role in that sector. So that can help you as well. Okay, Madhurima says, I'm having 3 years of experience as financial analyst, as I mentioned earlier. Can you kindly explain the day-to-day activities of a beginner FP&A analyst? Sure. So the beginner FP&A analyst, okay, might start with doing some analysis related to revenue. So you could typically you could be starting with a actual versus budget analysis, current month versus previous month, current quarter versus previous quarter, these kind of analysis. Now, let's say, for example, you find that your travel expenses are higher by $50,000 in this month compared to the last month. Now you dig deep, which cost center, which profit center is this coming from? Okay, then you might have to go into the accounts, find out where is this coming from. Then you have to also get into the why of it. Okay, yes, you understood that from a certain business unit, travel expenses is coming higher, but why? Why was this travel? Was this travel connected to some one-time event? Was this travel connected to some new business? You'll have to decode the reason and then capture that as part of your management commentary. So I'm just giving you some random example. Now, this thing might, we covered it in a few seconds, but this might actually occupy half of your day, right? Sometimes you may have to understand why there is a revenue variance. The other classic example is preparation of budgets, right? So typically in October, November, or during the end of the financial year, you start preparing the budgets for the next financial year. Now you could be owning partially one part of the budget. Now let's say your FP&A lead tells you that, okay, we have to prepare our rent cost projections for the upcoming financial year. So find out all the offices, go through all the rent agreements and see if there are any escalation clauses and let me know how much should we budget for rent as a cost for the next financial year. Now you might have 20 offices and you might have to go to 20 rent agreements, right? So that might consume your 2 days, right? You see, I'm just giving you some random ideas. So FP&A is not just about budgeting, forecasting. We'll click some buttons and dashboard will come on the screen and we are good to go. It might not be that easy. Yeah, it might not be that fancy as well. Okay, Pragya says, I'm a CA as well. I want to try for an internal movement in my current company. I'm into internal audit. What are some of the factors that I should keep in mind, like to prepare for interviews? Already spoke to the FP&A team for any openings. Please guide me. Okay, sure. So, like I said, so internal movement is your best bet, actually. To be honest, I would say that FP&A Masterclass certification can actually help you. At least that will get you a certification on your resume. That can be your starting point. You can also create some buzz about it. You can also tell your manager that, hey, I recently completed this FP&A course and it was really nice learning. I think I found this budgeting thing very interesting. You see, you kind of keep these conversations alive, internally within your company, bring them up once in a while. At some point in time, they'll realize that, okay, this girl is serious about moving into FP&A and they might give you that chance. So there's no shortcut answer. Unfortunately, I don't have a formula-based answer that, okay, if you do these 1, 2, 3 things, then next day your manager will transfer you to FP&A. That might not be possible, but yes, I mean, if you're willing to continue with this company, it's a good company, you're trying for an internal movement, 3 to 6 months down the line, you might actually move to an FP&A role. Okay, can we break into FP&A from audit Big Four? I don't understand the question. So private equity audit department. I have absolutely no clue what the question is.
I can add. So I think the question is, can you move into FP&A from a Big Four? And the Big Four department is a specific department, which is probably not too relevant. I mean, it is, but not to the question. So I have moved into FP&A from audit, so it is definitely possible. Now, what happens when you move from? So what you should be thinking when you move from Big Four audit is that first you should learn about FP&A. Doesn't have to be our course. It can be any program you do. It can be any books you read. But you have to make sure you put in the effort to learn about FP&A role. And there will be opportunities that will come once in a quarter, once in a 6 months time. At that time, the opportunity will not give you time. The interviewer will not give you time to prepare. So first of all, you should be prepared about FP&A. If you want to forget about FP&A, if you want to move into any profile, you have to prepare about that profile thoroughly. So in this case, you want to move into FP&A, so you have to be very thorough about what FP&A is, what FP&A people do. Read 5 books on FP&A, do 2 courses on FP&A. So do whatever you can to learn about FP&A. When the opportunity comes, you should be ready. And most people who are ready, they usually end up cracking the interview. So rather than waiting for the time when you get the interview and then starting preparing, it's too late. Maybe you will lose that opportunity. Maybe that will give you a lesson to prepare early, and then the next opportunity might be what you will get. So there will be, if you are a CA or if you have done any professional qualification, you will get opportunities, but you have to be ready to take or convert those opportunities. Only you can do that by staying prepared or being prepared. And for moving into FP&A from Big Four roles, the best options are, one is that you get into one of your clients. I mean, if there is no non-compete, this in your role, non-compete clause in your role. Best option would be if you have 5 clients, see wherever there is opening and get into one of your clients' finance team. So that is the best option. Second best option is temporarily for maybe 1 or 2 years, get into a MNC what do you call it, center of excellence kind of a role, which is a role where
Shared
all
services.
yes, shared services kind of a role. Gain some FP&A experience, get FP&A on your resume, and then move into a business facing FP&A role. So just be there for 1 year. Don't stay there for more than 1 or 2 years. Otherwise, probably it will be difficult for you to move out. So those are the 2 best options, because those shared services are looking for CAs in their roles, in hiring for those roles. So I think those are the best 2 options. And the third one you already talked about, which is internal mobility, which is the best option of the 3.
Thank you so
Okay,
much, I
so
think,
the next-
for answering the question. Yes.
Okay, the next question is about impact of statistics and AI on FP&A roles. So again, so data analytics is something which will be integrated. So you will have to understand the basics of statistics, like what's your averages, mean, median, mode, your regression, correlation. At least this much you need to understand at some point in time. If especially if they are being used in your organization. AI impact. See, I'm looking at AI like Excel, right? So 20 years ago, when Excel was introduced, everybody learned Excel. Now Excel is part of our life, right? So now AI is being introduced. The sooner we learn it, it will become part of our life and we'll adapt it. So people who know AI will replace people who don't. It's not that AI will take away jobs from people, but it will take away people who know AI, who understand the impact of AI, understand how AI is going to execute the work. They will have an upper hand. They will hold an upper hand in the coming months, I would say, not even years, coming months, with the pace with which technology is changing. If you don't take any firm steps to learn AI right now, okay, you will be left behind. What else do we have? Does FP&A team also help in the finalizing the cash flow statement of the company? If yes, what does the work look like in FP&A? So it doesn't help in cash flow statement, but cash flow forecast. Now, these 2 are different things, right? So cash flow statement is more of a statutory document where you have your cash flow due to your investment, your operations, your financing, those 3 things. So that's a different thing altogether. But cash flow forecast is basically your reports for management to understand the status of collections, working capital, all of that stuff. Yes, FP&A teams do help in that as well. Kaushik says, could you advise what are the exit opportunities after a few years in FP&A? It could be anything. I would say anything which is allied to finance. It could be corporate finance. It could be treasury. It could be consulting. So anything that is allied to finance, as long as it falls under the umbrella of a CFO, there could be varied roles within the FP&A function, the finance function as well.
Yeah, I think I can talk about the top 10. So treasury is one. Controller is another. So if you want to become CFO at some point, you need to have good experience in FP&A, controller, and treasury, all three. So treasury is one, controller is other. Then I've seen a lot of people get into the business side, which is sales and marketing, because they have spent so much time learning, understanding business, that if there is an opening on the business side, which is the operation side, and if they like moving out of finance, and they move into the business side also. A lot of people start their own businesses because after watching or after learning about businesses, uh, it gives them the confidence, okay, they can also do their businesses, startups. So those are a few options, and you can always move into other roles like equity research, valuations, M&A, transactions. Those are very, I mean, similar roles where you have a lot of transferable skills. Okay, I think that covers it all. Dhaval, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think we've covered all the questions in the chat box.
Yes. I think one thing I would like to say before we wrap up is a lot of people reach out to me on LinkedIn and YouTube and all the other platforms and ask me to help them, mentor them, coach them. It is not possible for us to reach out, I mean, to be able to help a lot of people individually because we don't have that much time, to be honest. The FP&A Masterclass is the best platform where we give our, I mean, all our, I mean, whatever the time we can from all our other things that we do. And it's also not too expensive for you because you join in a batch of 20 people, the cost gets divided among the 20 people. So if you ever wanted to learn FP&A from somebody who's 10 years experience in 3 different or 5 different industries, if you ever wanted a mentor in FP&A, then probably the FP&A Masterclass is a very good option. But yes, only if you are very serious about your FP&A interviews, FP&A roles.
Okay, sounds good. So I think we'll give it another minute or two. If you guys don't have any questions, we can wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for attending. Please do stay in touch, and please keep following us on LinkedIn. We're conducting a lot of different type of sessions these days. Do follow us for some interesting session in the future as well. I hope to see you all in the FP&A Masterclass.
All right, thanks.
We can stop the recording as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.